Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Tahir Dinsa and you're watching SDTV. State Bank is a regulator and obviously it regulates banking sector. And we all know monetary policy, policy rates and all that. But what if a new currency is on the horizon, not on the horizon, it's on the table and we don't know anything. And the regulators are learning, the banks are learning, everyone is implementing and learning at the same time. So isn't double jeopardy? So first of all, we need to understand what this new currency is. We call it as Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Instead that we should try to explain by writing, we have invited someone who is also heading a department in a fairly large bank owned by the government of Pakistan, and obviously he's expert on in his own right. Also he is also learning, but a lot more expert than so many other peoples. We have requested him to just explain in layman language a few things instead of going on technical jargons and everything. Mr. Imran Ashraf, you are head of digital side on BOP. Tell us something, just rumble on this thing. Say something as a basic premise. I've just said, then we'll rumble on the board questions.
Thank you for inviting me. As I will want to put that I'm not an expert here. We do some research and try to learn the new technologies which are coming in and the impact of those technologies on the society and in Pakistan in particular. So we mentioned digital currencies. Yes, it is a new currency, but we'll look at the evolution of money. You will see that starting from the very basic way of exchanging goods, barter, all the way to fiat, and then from fiat to the plastic money, and then digital banking, and from there now into the digital and cryptocurrencies, and probably future will be more alignment of the digital currencies, AI, and blockchain. So there is an evolution ongoing, and we all have to and should be cognizant of that, understand it, and then develop it in a way which is beneficial for the general public.
So, in simple term, what is a Bitcoin? How would you define for a layman having his coca on the roadside?
Okay, so I will go a bit. I will take a step back in explaining. So there is a technology called blockchain, which is distributed. Um, and when this technology came into being, it's possible now um, to create digital assets. So as we understand, uh, the asset is something that you can touch, you can own, you can it carries value. We know about those assets. It could be property, it could be car, it could be all those things that you own.
Metals.
Yeah, metal. So, however, there are digital assets which you can touch, and you do not know how to deal with them in real world. So we are defining it digital because it is held on a digital frame, which is the technology is blockchain, and there are different types of digital assets. The most famous one is cryptocurrency, but stablecoin is also a digital asset, and CBDC will be a digital asset as well, and there are other NFTs and so on. So why the digital assets are important? Because there is a lot of interest in public, especially in the Western world and also in the Asia Pacific. And over time, these currencies have gained value. Because they've gained value and they become assets, so many countries have started looking at coming up with regulatory and legal frameworks so that these assets can be starting to interact with the real world. And also because people are trading in a lot in those assets, there are many jurisdictions where they have made it legal, and there are jurisdictions they have also came up with the taxation format. So in the West, mainly in the US and Europe, there's a taxation which happens on these currencies and trade, and there are other countries where they're also legal, and other countries are looking at the framework. So this is the scenario of the digital asset. Within the digital asset, because it's now gaining a lot of traction, so regulators are also looking at what will happen to the traditional money or fiat, Um, though the fiat was also being digitized, and the state banks or the central banks were issuing those fiats. So since they start wondering, so there were two basic, let's say, digital asset currencies which have come into consideration. One is a central bank digital currency, and the other one is the stable coin. And I'll explain to you about it a bit later. What does the two mean? In a very basic term, stable coin is a cryptocurrency, but its value is not fluctuating. Its value is pegged with a real world instrument, mainly with US dollar or gold or any other
Currency basket.
yeah, any other country can also peg it to their own currency. We have seen that in the crypto world, the USDC and USDT are the two stable coins widely used, and the value of those currencies remain same in the crypto world. And whenever the crypto assets are to interact with the real world, these currencies are used. And the simple use cases are basically, you want to make a payment using your crypto asset, you use the stable coin, which is USDT or USDC, to interface with the real world. Similarly, because of the technology itself, it's so robust in terms of the efficiency it brings, the cross border payments can also become very efficient while using the stable coins. So that is on one side, where stablecoin is actually a cryptocurrency, but its value is stable. On the other side, the central bank digital currency is also developed on top of the distributed ledger, or the blockchain technology. And then there are few things that they've added there. For example, they have added the permission blockchain, which means that usually the blockchain technology will be decentralized. So decentralized means that a regulator or anybody cannot have a view on it, um, if the builders of that do not want. But when we say the permissioned network, which means that you can actually set up the blockchain technology in a way where the permission is also used for controlling of that particular currency. Um, there are many pilots happening in the world for central bank digital currencies, about 70 pilots. Out of those 70 pilots, there are, some are in advanced stage, some are less advanced stage, but most countries are now focusing on it. Most central banks are also focusing on it, because there will be a number of use cases they're going to develop on top. And I can talk about those, some of the key pilots, if you have interest.
How do you mine? There's a, I mean, it's a misnomer or reality that electricity is consumed, cloud. What is that? How do you mine a Bitcoin?
Okay, so um, whenever you are going to create um, a token or a currency on blockchain technology, that process is called mining or minting. Not all tokens or all types of currencies require the same level of, or same level of, let's say, processing speed, processing capability or load. Bitcoin, for example, requires a lot of it. Some other coins can be lighter. um, so not just the crypto currencies, but also if you are working on, if you want to mint stable coins, if you want to mint digital central bank digital currencies, you will also have to mint it on the blockchain technology. Now, um, if you're not mining in a particular place, then that doesn't mean that this requires a lot of energy. So only if you are mining it in a for Bitcoin, for example, specifically, then it requires energy, but not for the other or lesser loads. The loads are shared, because it's a decentralized, infrastructure, so it doesn't really require a lot of compute and storage power centralized in one location.
Yeah, right. And what is the future for Pakistan? Quickly, if you say, what do you think? If possible, predict some timeline as well.
Um, I would say that every evolution takes time when it comes to a new technology coming in. Um, both sides or three sides of this, where people are using, they want to use the technology, the regulators want to regulate it, and also they are wary of the fact that it should they need to look at the security, they need to look at the regulations of use, so that misuse not happens, and they look at the consumer protection. So all the two of them, um, one of them will always be ahead of the other, and then the other will catch up, and so but what happens is that that basic uh, let's say basic baselines have to be created, so that it provides the people an infrastructure which they can use for using such technologies. In Pakistan, for particular, there is a lot of work happening in terms of research, in terms of understanding the whole shift, and by the time we are looking at all this, there is a lot of learning and lot of pilots and use cases being understood and analyzed all over the world. When it comes to central bank digital currencies or stable coins or crypto at large, um, the world is still shaping. So it's still evolving in terms of their impact on the economy, their impact on the money, as a bigger topic. So there's a lot of learning happening. In my view, the steps that have been taken recently, where there is an ordinance for virtual asset ordinance, and there is a regulatory authority, IVARA, and State Bank. So all these two entities working together in terms of providing some basic frameworks in central bank digital currency and stable coins, and then large on a larger context cryptocurrencies, is going to help us understand how to make use of this particular technology. To start with, use some easier use cases of stable coins and central bank digital currencies can be used. For example, inward remittance, for example, government to person payments, using the CBDCs, or for example, the inter border the settlements. So because they bring a lot of efficiency, the why what is that efficiency, both in terms of the cost of transaction and also in terms of the time it takes to complete that transaction. So we want to first look at those use cases which bring a lot of efficiency. Once we have understood and the infrastructures are developed, then we open up in stages for the other areas of this technology.
Yeah, anything which have you think it's a must, and you would say.
Um, it's an interesting evolution. Um, we are talking about digital assets here, and its use and its impact on the economy, and how we're going to make use of them and go forward. And we should also be watchful of what's happening next in this arena. We know that there is this digital assets, and there is artificial intelligence also coming in the play, and specifically the agentic AI. So there will be an interaction between the two of them. So the digital assets uh, and the AI and the blockchain, and in my view, all three of them combined will have a much more technological evolved ecosystem, which will be interesting and important to learn. And we should also start looking at those intersection of these new technologies and how it will impact our economy and our general public use.
Last question, quickly, quick answer on that, as so it should remain very precise. Do you think it can cause a breach to fiscal sovereignty of country?
Um, I think if we um, if we take it with the required caution from the regulatory and monitoring front, we should be able to manage it, as most of the countries are able to manage it. And this is a challenge in front of us, and we will be able to, inshallah, and make good
Good.
steps.
So you are hopeful.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
So the people who are the mover and shaker, and they are quite hopeful. But obviously, it's a new technology, and for them, they are working on horizon. It's not something that but they have just learned that there's a run-of-the-mill knowledge available for them. They are also learning, and obviously, this process is bound to have some mistake. But by and large, I've seen the practitioners are confident that they can manage it, and that is a good hope. With this, we come to end of the program. Bye for now.
Thank you.